Young people today are being bombarded with different messages about sex and relationships.
The secular view is that, sleep with anybody you want. There's no consequences.
This is a program about a group of young people who choose to live a very different life. A life where sex is reserved until marriage.
The central thing is not sex, it's the dignity of the person and getting to know the person.
You know, I've had a couple of chase relationships since, and the difference is unbelievable.
I was totally shocked and blown away, and I didn't think anybody lived this type of lifestyle at all.
These are literally the most difficult questions that people have.
There's so much on offer, there's their eternal happiness on offer, and that's what we can strive for.
They are pure in heart. It's Friday night in Dublin city centre, and as the streets begin to fill with people heading to bars and nightclubs, another group are meeting for their own special night. Some on their own, others in groups. Bit by bit they arrive at this building on Dublin's Merrion Square. This is Pure in Heart's monthly overnight vigil, and tonight around 20 young people have come together to celebrate Mass, pray the Rosary and have some downtime too. And tonight, Father David's homily is quite topical.
We're presented with this image of 50 Shades of Grey. This is truly shocking because it's a gauge of our culture's moral and spiritual decay and how we have corrupted that wonderful gift of sexuality. And so where does this all leave us? How our world, how our culture, how our generation, how our young people need to hear the message of Pure in Heart.
The group is made up of men and women aged between 18 and 35 from all backgrounds and walks of life. And one of those members is Fergal McGrath. Fergal lives just outside of Dublin and he's been a member of Pure in Heart for 4 years now.
You're out on a Saturday night, whatever, you're out with a few friends, whatever, and it's say a lad's night out. So you might see a girl in a bar or whatever and you go over and you might start chatting or whatever. And as you say, it's like, you're getting to know each other, blah, blah, blah. So what do you do? I talk about love, relationships and sexuality to young people in schools. I'm a chastity speaker. They're like, really? Okay, what do you mean by that? And then you have to explain that, And for some people, it's tough to hear. But some people are actually interested, you know what I mean? Because we're all interested in love. And of course they might say, well, okay, it's not for me, but I have a huge amount of respect for you for doing it, that kind of way. Or for living that way, that type of thing. But sometimes it can be very interesting, it can be very interesting.
Although now very much into his faith, Fergal wasn't always this way. His life began to unravel after his dad passed away when he was just 13.
I suppose my whole world kind of fell apart at that stage. And Mum had just lost, her life partner of 29 years. And Mum was going through her own struggles with that because, it's the person she loved, you know what I mean? And they were such a great example of what love really means, the two of them.
The death really affected Fergal, and he went down a destructive path of alcohol and drugs.
All the guys were getting into, drugs and smoking hash and all that type of stuff. And I was part of that. But if it was to say drug of choice for me, it would have been, hash or LSD. And I remember a time when cocaine was coming on the scene with a few of the lads, whatever. I said to myself, I'll give it a go, try it, whatever.
What started off as taking a few joints at a party led to Fergal using more hard drugs and more often. But all the time, his mother was thinking of him.
Mum was praying a lot for me, and she really, I suppose as a mother, has that, maternal instinct, knew I wasn't doing it to get at her, I wasn't doing it to hurt anybody else. I was doing it because I was in pain. And I got to such a point I didn't care about living or dying anymore. And I said many a time to myself, you know what, if I don't wake up tomorrow, it doesn't matter, I don't care. Life doesn't mean anything to me.
Fergal's drug use was out of control, until one day when he arrived back at his mother's house.
So I went upstairs, rolled a joint, smoked a joint, came downstairs, made a cup of tea and a roll, and I went into the sitting room, started playing the PlayStation for a while, And about say 10 minutes, 15 minutes later, all of a sudden this thing hits me in the chest, and I'm starting to, not be able to breathe. And I have pains shooting down my left and right arm. I'm gasping for air to breathe. I was so convinced at that time, I was going to die. And because my dad had died of a heart attack, and I just thought to myself, yeah, this is what's going to be. And then for the first time, I'd say in maybe 12 years, I actually started saying Our Fathers, Hail Marys, Glory Bees, you name it. I was saying every prayer that was in the book, you know what I mean? And I said the act of contrition. All of a sudden, I just calmed down. And after that experience, my mind just started to twist in the right way.
This was the beginning of the end of Fergal's drug use. He started reading into his faith, which in turn started his own conversion.
When I came into the faith, you had the wrestling questions, regarding, say, sexuality and sex before marriage and things like that. Or, okay, I get it, okay, don't have sex till you're married, but what can you do otherwise? Do you know that kind of way?
Fergal is now living a chaste lifestyle in Pure in Heart and has a completely new outlook on sex and relationships.
I'm not saying that people who are in a relationship that's sexual aren't in love. I'm not saying that they're not. But if you take sex out of the equation, then you will see if that person is really there for you or not. Because sex is such a powerful thing. It's a beautiful thing. It's an amazing thing. But it's also very, very blinding. And the other side of that is that if there's a problem in the relationship, what are you going to do? We'll sleep with each other. That will cover up the problem. And we don't have to deal with what is actually in front of us, which is the elephant in the room, whatever that is for a person's relationship.
Even though the lifestyle can be challenging at times, Fergal finds the benefits far outweigh anything else.
Living chastity, living in a chaste relationship, you've nowhere to hide, you've nowhere to run. So you have to face sometimes your problems. You have to face your issues. It's amazing if you're facing that with somebody who wants to face them with you. I don't have a girlfriend at the moment. I'm actually still praying for her, still looking for her. She's out there somewhere, I don't know where she is.
There are around 200 registered Pure in Heart members in Dublin today, and the woman who runs the group is Katrina Heffernan. Katrina has been in charge for the past year, and before joining Pure in Heart, she was working as a legal executive in Dublin.
I really loved working in law. I found it challenging enough for me every day, and I really liked the people. I learned an awful lot of skills that I could use in any job. It was extremely challenging, extremely rewarding.
Working in a busy law practice, Katrina seldom had free time, but a friend kept telling her about a group for young Catholics.
A friend of mine had suggested me going to the group, that it was a great way to meet young people, a great way to possibly meet future spouse, even though that wasn't the incentive all of the time. And I put it off for a number of years because I thought I was too busy. I put it off for 2 years. But somehow Pure in Heart kept cropping up in my life. I'd meet people from Pure in Heart at different events. And eventually the same friend got back onto me and said, "Did you find that group?" And I was embarrassed to say no, I hadn't bothered. So I eventually went to seek them out one Thursday evening, and I went along to the prayer group for the first time. I was a little bit overwhelmed to see how many young people were in their faith, and there was something really refreshing to see lots of grown young adults, men and women, on their knees genuinely praying the rosary. And that was my first impression of Pure in Heart, that these people were really seeking out a relationship with a God they believed in. I felt personally I was miles away from that, and I was really eager to learn how to go that road.
Katrina started attending Pure in Heart weekly, which made her question her own lifestyle and her relationship with God.
To me, I think I had an image of God that was up in the clouds, like a lot of people. I didn't know He had an interest in every area of my life, and I certainly didn't understand that my love life, my relationships, my sexuality was part of my life that God was deeply concerned about. I was facing realities about myself that I wasn't used to.
And the more Katrina went to Pure in Heart, the more she questioned everything.
As a group, they spend a lot of time in front of the Blessed Sacrament in adoration, celebrating Holy Mass, reciting the Rosary, and all these things lead you to the Eucharist. And when you're led to the Eucharist, I think, you know, you're met with Jesus and you're met with yourself. And a lot of things are revealed to yourself during that time in silence that you might not necessarily be comfortable with, but you just need to work on a little bit.
Katrina was re-evaluating her job in law because of a longing she felt to do something that would be, for her, more meaningful.
I really prayed a genuine prayer, probably my first genuine prayer in a while, I was asking Our Lady for a job I'd be really passionate about, because I thought, you know, if I could be really passionate about a job, I'd really do it very well.
Then Katrina received a call, telling her that the position to manage Pure in Heart was available and it was hers if she wanted it. Knowing the message of Pure in Heart, Katrina felt this would be a good fit and so handed in her notice to the law firm.
It's a message that you can start again, that you can start today. So no matter what you've done in your life or how you've lived your love life, God is only interested in the here and now, and through the grace of confession and living out the sacraments, that it's all for the taking really, and there's so much on offer.
Katrina had a difficult job ahead, getting the message of Pure in Heart through to young people.
So we nearly have to start with letting them know that they are precious, first of all, in the eyes of God. You wouldn't believe how many young people don't know that, or can't hear it, or aren't open to hearing it, because they're not used to hearing it. You know, God is sometimes a foreign concept to them. So after you build that little relationship with them in the schools, encouraging them that God is an interest in their whole lives and also in their love lives, that's where you can gently kind of bring in the elements of purity and chastity, and He also has a plan for your love life. And I guess the fruit of Pure in Heart is that it's young people teaching young people about their own experience.
Young people talking to other young people about their experiences. That's the key to Pure in Heart, and that's what's happening today here in Dublin City Centre. Pure in Heart are holding an open talk where students, many of them for the first time, will hear about chastity.
The reason I got involved with Pure in Heart was because I heard a talk similar to what you're going to hear today when I was younger, and it just really had a huge impact on my life. I felt that this was something that everybody deserves to hear about, you know, because we're always given so many different messages. This is one that really stood to me.
At first, the young people attending are unsure of what to think about what they're hearing.
You know, when two people are having sex, it's the most intimate way of expressing love. Basically what they're saying is, you know, this is my body, all I have, all I am, I'm giving it to you.
The young people giving the talk are called the Mission Team and are employed full-time to travel to schools and venues all over the country to spread the message. They relate to the young people by sharing their own experiences.
Now, I don't know what your experience of marriage is so far in your life, you know, what you have to go home to. I don't know whether mum and dad are married, whether they're separated, whether they're divorced, whether it's just mum or just dad or granny or granddad, you know, whatever your own experience is. So maybe even just for this hour, take whatever experience you know, whatever you know marriage should be, and put it to the side and think about what it could be for your future.
You know, I don't know where you are, you know, with God in your life, you know, right now, if He's in your life or not. But the one thing, you know, we want you to take away from today is to know that He loves, you know, each and every person here. And He's an amazing plan for your life. He's actually an amazing plan for your love life, something I never thought about before. You know, when I was going off to the nightclub with my friends, I'd be like, see you later, God. You know, God will be left behind in my bedroom and I'll be off out to the nightclub for the night. You know, when you're living chastity, you're really getting to know the person from the inside out and not the outside in.
The talk that the Mission Team delivered today is one that they give all over the country in various schools and groups. Shane Hogan is a teacher in Cork in the south of Ireland, who Pure in Heart have visited a number of times.
The kids are getting a very muddled picture with regard to their sexuality from everything from television, movies, videos, video games, their friends, the conversations they're involved in, their social scene, all the social media. Everything seems to be communicating to them, from what I perceive, that sexuality is simply fun and to be availed of whenever you can get your hands on it. Whereas, of course, teaching in a Catholic school, I, as a religion teacher, want to communicate that sexuality is something much more precious and ideally to be reserved for marriage. I felt very glad that there was a group out there who was upholding the Catholic position on sexuality and relationships, because my experience of what I had seen in primary schools was very neutral at best, and in fact worrying. Whereas I felt happy as a religion teacher that there was a group there who could come into our school and advocate for the Catholic position. I secretly believe that the vast majority of students are relieved to be hearing this message, because I think there's a huge pressure on young people. We're talking about, they talk to our fifth-year students now on a year-by-year basis. They're 15, 16, maybe 17 years old maximum, and there's an enormous pressure on many of those to at least give the impression that they're sexually active, even if they're not. My experience is that the room is silent while these people speak. As I say, some students will say that they understand it, they admire it, but they're not necessarily going to commit to living it. But I still, in that situation, I'm still very encouraged, because I know that the message has hit home, and at a later stage, when something happens in their lives, they might remember it.
The young people who attended the talk today are left with plenty to think about.
I found it very reassuring to know that actually chastity isn't totally extinct anymore, and there is that support there. I think it's really important that we have these kind of groups here to inform us of this kind of way of living, and it's not totally extinct. I didn't think anybody lived this type of lifestyle at all. Like, I didn't think young people existed that live this type of lifestyle today.
We're encouraging our young people to think and to be careful before living active sexual lives. And that's a message they're not hearing very often.
Sentiment locked deep within this vector font, straight lines of love, my heart beats slow.
Back in the Pure in Heart headquarters, and the group's spiritual director, Father Alan O'Sullivan, is giving a talk on Pope John Paul II's theology of the body.
So you see where the Pope is going with all this, okay? Where he's trying to take us. He's taking us on a journey back into our own existence, back into our own hearts, back into what we're actually desiring, actually what we want. Since 2012, I've been the spiritual director of Pure in Heart. So I'm present as a priest to the young people regularly at their Thursday meetings. It's a time of conversion for some people. It's when they reach adulthood for the first time. They're asking fundamental questions, but it's also a time when they're searching for their own place in life. You know, whether it's to meet someone, to fall in love, get married, whether a young man wants to become a priest. You know, it's a time of searching and finding. So Pure in Heart becomes the vehicle for that, where they can be with other young Catholics, they can express, be open about their faith, and not to be afraid to be Catholic in an authentic sense. Basically, the second part of the talk is about fallen man and how to get back to the true meaning of the body, the spousal meaning of the body, is by living a chaste lifestyle. Yes, I like the social side as well. I think they get some humor out of that. You know?
We're all fighting a battle. We're singing the same song, trying to find someone who cares as much as we do. We're climbing the ladder.
A huge emphasis is put on the social aspect of Pure in Heart. Tonight, they've braved the freezing cold weather, and not to mention Irish rain, to play some bubble football.
We are winning, I think. I think it's like 5-3 or something, so we're the best team so far.
Poor Father Alan isn't too impressed though.
It's a yuppie sport. It's just a yuppie sport. But it's good fun, yeah, it's interesting. You can't play normal football, but you just use your know-how and sense of direction if you've got any left, you know.
And Katrina is pointing the finger to one of the mission team members, claiming there's been a bit of foul play.
Yeah, there could be at least 3 of them on the line if I was refereeing. Absolutely filthy. You know, one prime candidate from Australia that we won't name. But you need a bit of that too.
Yeah, well, I didn't know the rules before the game, so I'm just trying to figure them out at the moment. But just going with it.
Everyone gets something different from Pure in Heart. For many, it's a way to deepen your faith and a support when living a chaste lifestyle. For others, it may be an opportunity to meet new people and form a relationship. But for some, it can lead them down a much greater path. Brother Damien Pauly is currently training for the priesthood and was a member of Pure in Heart for 6 years.
Well, I joined the Dominicans back in 2009, and so I've been 6 years now as ordained a deacon back in March, and please God, next July I'll be ordained with 5 of my brothers. So it's been a wonderful journey. Each year we're learning a huge amount, obviously, through our studies.
Damien was in his 20s when he first took a chance and attended a Pure in Heart meeting.
I just found everything they said, it was very interesting. It was something I needed to hear at the time because I had very little exposure to the church's teaching on any matters to do with morality or sexuality at the time. I was kind of vaguely aware of church teaching and, you know, keeping sex from marriage and that kind of thing, but the reasoning behind it was what was really opened up in that presentation, and that's why it became reasonable. You know, it was an understanding that there was a plan for it and that there was a truth and beauty to it. And that was what I was really kind of searching for at the time, was a reasoned explanation of it. Why would I choose to live according to what the church says? Is it just following rules, or is there more behind it? Is it actually a choice you make that is actually good for us? And that's what I was open, my mind was open to during that presentation, to really kind of consider things that I hadn't thought about before, just thinking it was kind of rule-based. So this was the beginning of a process of me learning more about the church's teaching and then grappling with it and coming to understand it more and then coming to accept it more fully.
Brother Damien joined the group, and over the years his priorities started to change.
Well, as I say, I came back to my faith in my early 20s, so there was a particular moment of reverting back to the faith, and I think without a doubt the seeds of a vocation were definitely sown there and nurtured, but I wasn't aware of it. It took quite a few years before I got to the point where I was joining the Dominicans. 7 years elapsed in between. So in that journey time, I was in Pure in Heart. So all that time within Pure in Heart, immersed in the prayer life, sacramental life, the community life, that was all definitely helping me to be attentive to what God was trying to do with my life. Even moving into Pure in Heart, obviously every prayer meeting there would be Mass and there would be different priests coming in, and even just a witness of their priesthood to me was immense, and getting to know other priests through Pure in Heart. So that was a huge step in getting me to even be open to the possibility, because obviously marriage was the thing that was most attractive to me initially. So I was kind of having this tug of war with God, saying, okay, I really would like to be married, but if it's your will that you want me to be a priest, you know, help me to choose that. So there was definitely a tug of war going on there, but in the end, the peace came with the decision to choose the vocation for religious life. And I say I haven't looked back since. So it was definitely God's grace operating through all that. Oh, there's been many marriages that have come out of it, absolutely. And there's been a few vocations as well. So, you know, it depends on where God is calling you to. And that was, a marriage is what was initially attractive. And then kind of the curveball came later on that there was actually a deeper desire put in my heart for vocation to priesthood. And that was even nurtured within the whole ministry within Pure in Heart. Being able to go into schools and teach young people about the church's teaching on sexuality. Like, I loved that opportunity to go in and teach them and try and help them to develop even a relationship with God, so telling them something about God as well as the church's teaching. And that was kind of watering the seeds that would lead me eventually to choose the Dominican order with its charism of teaching and preaching. So, you know, God was working all through that. You know, He was working. I had a desire for that kind of work and that kind of mission, and then it's kind of found its fulfillment here within the Dominican order.
It's 2 in the morning, and back at Pure in Heart in Dublin city centre, the group are praying the rosary and in adoration as part of their overnight vigil. Pure in Heart is growing all the time, not only here in Ireland but also around the world, with groups starting in Haiti, Kenya, Britain, Boston, Liberia and France. But for Katrina, the core message and how it's delivered must remain the focus.
And these are young people evangelizing essentially to other young people. They're real life role models, people they can look up to, people they can relate to, and that's so essential. It's such an essential part of Pure in Heart.
Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
It's definitely been one of the best blessings in my life in terms of the people I've met, developed friends that I know I have for life, and growing more in my faith all during that journey, learning the whole time about the church's teaching, not just in sexuality but in other things as well. And just the social aspect of it was absolutely brilliant, you know, absolutely amazing, because we were able to go away on weekends and involved in lots of different things. And that really for me is where the church I think needs to be at the moment in terms of young people, that whole idea of community, coming together and supporting each other.
I could live the lifestyle without Pure in Heart, but it's a lot easier to live this lifestyle with the support of Pure in Heart. Every week I go to the meeting, it's like I'm recommitting myself and I'm reminding myself of the choice I've made to live a chaste lifestyle. Also, my boyfriend comes to the meeting with me, so the two of us, it really reaffirms us and strengthens us in our relationship.
I would hope Pure in Heart would be a home for people during that time of their lives in their 20s, a community of young Catholics where they can learn basic truths of Christianity, but also have a developed sense, a unique sense of their own sexuality, how it's ordered towards marriage of a man and woman. And that's something healthy, that's something good, that's good sound for them.
You know what I mean? Either you're in for what the Lord teaches or you're not. There's no in between. These are literally the most difficult questions that people have. And I'm saying from a person who has been there, I understand them struggles.
Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit. Oh my Jesus.
I feel that the message of Pure in Heart is so crucial that if you get and understand the message of what God wants for your love life and all of your relationships, you'll benefit so much from in every area of your life. So I would essentially love for every person, as a young person in Ireland, to hear this message at least once, but we need to plant those seeds gently and firmly in the hearts of our young people because they're just not hearing it.